The 24/25 season is finally here, and with that comes some in-season teams in the EPL, Bundesliga, and La Liga. Despite me saying I wasn't going to buy any in-season teams, I instead decided to, spend £500 on them. So let's take a look. But first, some housekeeping. A few rares are going from the account now that the Cap 240 threshold's gone. I have no need for them, so Jan Oblak has departed for 0.1 on Ethereum, very nice there, alongside Araujo, who's out injured until Christmas anyway, so definitely glad to get the Ethereum for him. Felix, whose transfer is still up in the air, not sure where he's going to end up, and Tushimeni has also left the account for a further 0.045 Ethereum. My contender rares are also gone, and all of this was in the effort to raise funds for these in-season teams at the limited levels for the big free leagues that you're going to see today. Is that a smart decision? I don't fucking know, probably fucking not, and we're full sending these teams, I'm switching my account more to focus towards that limited scarcity, that in-season and classic tournaments that they offer there. The issue behind the tactical nous of this decision is that am I then able to compete at these levels to make this a worthwhile trade? Because at the rare level I certainly couldn't, so I'm not too fussed about getting rid of them. Of course, the other side of the coin here is that there's much more competition at the limited level in terms of managers entering and the top cards available, so we have to deal with that as well. And you have to consider that these wells are going to have a higher bankroll and are going to have top tier sides in these divisions, and with what you imagine will be better collection bonuses to boot. So winning any division is going to be near impossible, right? Let's not get that twisted, but we have to think of how all of the little wins will add up over time. For instance, my in-season MLS team cost me about 60 quid, really cheap for a bunch of good players there, and for about 6 game weeks straight with this team, I was winning something, a fiver, another fiver, 15 quid, a fiver, then fuck all, 1 game week, that was a shit game week, but then another fiver, it was all fantastic with a top 10 finish mixed in there, and before you know it, that team has paid for itself. But let's stop chatting shit and look at these teams where I've spent £500 on, which doesn't sound great when you say it like that. Let's look at the EPL. Utilising my option to use a classic season card, we've got Jordan Pickford in goal, with the outfield spots then filled with Ben White and Kai Havertz of Arsenal, Garnacho of Man United, and Kulusevski as almost the cheap filler option to round out the team here. The issue with Kulusevski is his sporadic scores, right? We look at that and you can see he's not always firing on all cylinders, but he shows glimpses of quality at Tottenham. A fucking cat meow? Is that one of my cats? So I just heard a fucking cat meow. What the fuck? What the fuck? I found her. It was pissing down with rain. She was soaking wet. Okay, I'll see you later. As I was saying, basically Kulusevski is the hit and miss option of this team, but you've got to note that Tottenham's opening day fixture is against Leicester, which is definitely going to be one of the easier matchups on paper across the season, and I think a key part of the in-season challenge and the battle to win rewards is going to be winning big early doors in the season, where the competition with other sour managers is naturally filtered down as there's less cards available to use and less managers entering the tournament. Garnacho then had the most minutes for Man United last season, so I'm sure he'll be starting for them regularly. Amid Diallo is trying to break through into the team this season, so hopefully that doesn't impact Garnacho's playing time as a solid starter too much. We can see he's capable of going on good runs of form on Sorare data. And then Kai Havertz is obviously the Zian Fleming of the Premier League. I'm a big Kai Havertz fan. I think he's the 2025 Ballon d'Or winner. So just remember I said that for next season. Just depends how his game time will be affected with Gabby Jesus coming back into the fold for Arsenal as well. But I'm quietly confident all 5 players here start for their teams. Just a few question marks potentially once the season truly gets rocking and rolling. The worry is the lack of AA beasts in this team. I mean, Ben White is really the only player here who can pop off with a 30 or 40 on the AA score. You love to see it from a defender, of course. That's what you want from your defender. Mostly derived from dangerous passes into the final third. As an attacking fullback, it just means naturally this lineup more heavily relies on the decisives from the midfield and upwards. We know Havertz, Garnacho and Kulusevski are all capable of getting decisives. It's just a case of getting them all singing and dancing with those decisives in tune on the same game week. That's going to be the true test here. And then the Bundesliga, my most expensive team for the in-season leagues here, by some fucking distance as well. And that's mostly down to the purchase of Jamal Musiala, a big outlay there of almost £100 to secure him to the account. But I don't mind it. Let's just take a look here. He's going to buy out 80 plus scores for fun. I think he's really going to be a big player this season, especially when you combine him with my classic season Harry Kane card. That duo is going to be fucking brutal for me and the Bundesliga itself. It was a must-have when I committed to this Bundesliga team. Your Dortmunds, Leipzigs and Leverkusens, they definitely got some good forward options that I considered, but this front line of Musiala and Kane won out hands down for me, despite Bayern having a poor season last year. The inconsistencies in the lower scores with the other options in the league. Didn't really excite me. And the new Bayern signing is also joining them in the middle, Paulinho from Fulham. I believe he should be starting, and I'm quite excited to see what he can do in so 5 terms as a regular player for Bayern, because, you know, at Fulham, a team who you'd consider to be average in the EPL at best, he was pretty consistent in pumping out scores in the upper 50s for a team who were probably more likely on the back foot most games. So imagine in a more dominant Bayern team where he can pass and spray the ball a bit more, and perhaps even be a bit more advanced going forward in a midfield three. I think he could bang out some great scores. We know he's got the slices in his locker, so I'm thinking Paulinho could be a dark horse to bang out 80 pluses on a lot of game weeks. Almost a B-Tech Kimmich is what I'm going for here. It's in a back two from Stuttgart. Lone goalkeeper Nubel with Mittelstadt filling in the defensive slot. The worry here is, of course, whether Stuttgart can replicate their form from last season, especially now Guirassy has departed. Whether that affects Mittelstadt's AA scores, if he perhaps plays a bit more conservative in that team, or even gets less decisive as a result, right? He won't be pinging the ball into one of the best strikers in the league. I think Undav is his replacement. We'll have to see how that affects their play. But, you know, still a very capable back two in the Bundesliga. And again, future-proofing my account, right? Nubel is like, what, 27 for fuck's sake? So assuming he comes in and replaces Neuer when he eventually retires, he could be Bayern's starting goalkeeper for years and years and years, and maybe not many more years after that to come. So locking him down in the account was definitely a purposeful action, thinking even further ahead from just this season. But then the final in-season team, La Liga. We're not messing around here. We've gone for a full stack, and that's Real Sociedad, a team I picked to stack for a few reasons. They're very decent at soccer, being reason number 1. Reason number 2 is that they have European utility, and reason number 3 is that their opening 6 fixtures in the league, to me, are very favourable to them. I think they should be winning all of them, except the Real Madrid game. Of course, you don't expect anyone to win that, but for the most part, that's a very nice opening bunch of fixtures, so I think these players should be pumping out some good SO5 scores. We've got Ramiro and Net, a super consistent goalkeeper in the La Liga, Pacheco or Hamari Traore at the back. I'm not 100% sure on who I'll pick yet. I've seen some predictions of the lineup with and without Pacheco, so that's a bit of an issue. But they all have Hamari, so I imagine I'm going to go with him for the first game. I've got Brais Mendes in the middle, who is a very capable player, and then Take and Oyarzabal, the Euro 2024 final goal-scoring, winning extra time player dude, completing the team. So that's fucking nice. I've even got Sergio Gomez available as a backup, who again will probably fill in for a backup team. I think he is in for a great season, so he's definitely a good option there. By the way, the Sober Thursday Club think myself and Sergio Gomez are kind of like the same person, like a doppelganger in terms of facial design, definitely not footballing ability. If anyone saw me at Sober Sevens, then you'd be very aware of that. Anyhow, I'm chatting a lot of sheer. I think the stack could perform well as almost a differential to the Real Madrid and Barcelona stacks, right? Naturally, your Bellinghams, Mbappe's, yada, yada, yada. They're going to be the best and highest scoring players the most often. You can't fight that. We can't do anything about that, and I certainly can't afford to buy them. So buying a Real Sociedad stack here almost counteracts that on the weeks they don't fully perform. So that's why I've decided on fully stacking in this league. Take is the key decisive merchant here. If Sociedad win and perform well, we're going to need him to be impacting those scores with a goal or an assist in some fashion. But, you know, I've then got someone like Brais Mendes behind him, helping him out, so I'm sure that shouldn't be too much of an issue. Two very good players there. Of course, Oyarzabal is in that front line as well, so I've got, you know, a triangle that should be playing with each other well, you'd fucking hope. I just hope they can kick on and get a bit more consistent in the AA scores they get. You know, Mendes, you know, he can score fairly decent. I just want him to do a bit higher. And speaking of Mendes, I actually won him twice. My free card for buying a Mendes was a Mendes. I feel like that's kind of dumb, but I'll take it. He can go on a backup team that everyone's. That's pretty fucking cool. For the most part, I was winning Essence on all of these cards, right? I think Mendes was the only free player I won, but I don't mind the Essence. I'll take that. You know, that's just building up more in terms of my Sober Factory on the run to 500 points for a Tier 1/Tier 0 card. And one more thing for all of these in-season teams that I've not touched upon is their mid-week utility for European fixtures. Real Sociedad, Conference League, I believe. Bayern and Stuttgart from my Bundesliga team, both in the Champions League. My EPL setup, again, is made up mostly of outfield players, all of whom are competing in European competitions. The issue here then becomes squad rotation. It won't always be easy to pull 5 to 10 starters out accurately from all of these players. It's a bit of a mixed bag, but you know, some options are certainly better than nil pois options, so that goes without saying. The chance to pick up any extra cold hard cash money can certainly never be frowned upon. So let me know if you're ready for the 24/25 season with some in-season or classic teams in the comments down below. I'll catch you next time because I fucking love